All right, so when you work with arrays, you have tons of built-in what we call methods or functions that you can use with them. So we're going to cover the more advanced ones later on. We're just not ready for them yet. But for right now, we can stick to some very basic ones. So I want to first start out with something that's not a method. It's called a property, and that's the length property. So let's set up a little array. I'm going to go const, and I'm going to go grocery list. So just some things I want to get at the grocery store. And I'm going to do something like bread. So bread. I'm going to do, let's say, rice, and then maybe some chicken, something like that. So misspelled that. And then let's say, I don't know, some tomatoes, and then maybe potatoes. So potatoes, if I can spell that correctly. Okay, so far we know that if we wanted to get the first item in this array, we would use the array name. So let me just do this. So console.log, we would use the array name, so grocery list, and then the square brackets. And then in this case, if I want the first guy, I want to do 0, right? Remember, an array is 0 indexed, or you could say it has 0 based numbering. So the first item is 0, the second one is 1, the third one is 2, so on and so forth. So you take the position that you would normally think of when you're counting normally and just subtract away 1. So when I log this guy to the console, I get bread, right? So if I pop this open and I run this guy, I get bread, okay? Now here's where something's going to come in handy. Let's say I want to get the last item of an array. We know the first item is going to be found with 0, but the last item, in most cases, you do not know the length of your array, okay? You don't know that when you're writing your program. It's going to change dynamically. So we want to have some way to get the last item. Let's say right now I put 4. Well, that's going to give me potatoes. So let's clear this and run this. Well, I get potatoes. But let's say I add an item to the end of this array, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. But basically, you would no longer have the last item. You'd be stuck with basically the 5th item, okay? So to fix this, I'm going to introduce something called the length property. So right now, I'm just going to console.log. We're going to have the array name, which is grocery list, and then dot length. Okay, so this dot is going to come up a lot. We're going to talk more about this later on. For right now, we need this dot here. So grocery list dot length will give me the length of this array. So basically, this is counted normally. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. Okay, so let's pop this open. Didn't mean to do that. Let's clear this and let's run this, and we get 5. Okay, now how can we use this to get the last item of an array? Well, basically, what you'd want to do is come over here. And you're going to do grocery list, so grocery list, the array name, and then inside the square brackets, right now, if you did this, you would be trying to find the 6th item because this would be 5, okay, and you're trying to pull the 6th item because it's 1 less. So if I do this right now, you're going to get undefined, right? So you'll clear this and run this, you get undefined. But what I want to do here is just subtract away 1 because again, if I count this, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the result of this right here is 5. If I subtract away 1, I account for the 0 indexed nature of an array. Okay, so now that gives me 4. So this right here right now would be the same thing as if I just wrote this with a 4, okay? But this is dynamic here. This is going to change based on the length of my array, whereas this is hard-coded, right? It'll never change. So if we pop this open and clear this, and we run this, we get potatoes twice. But let me show you where this would come in handy. Let's get rid of this, and let's talk about the push method. So the push method allows us to put something at the end of an array, okay? It could be one item or it could be multiple items. Let me just go ahead and hit grocery list.push, okay? So you see the dot again. We'll talk about this more. So the push, you want parentheses here. And again, when you see parentheses, you're thinking about a function. So you see this is a function built into JavaScript. It's called the push method. So I'm just going to put stake in here, okay? And all this is going to do is it's going to put stake at the end of my array. So let's come right here. And before we do this, let's console.log. We're going to do the grocery list, okay, that array. And I'm going to copy this and come down here and paste this in. So let's go ahead and clear this and run this. And we see that we have the first array here and then the modified array where we put stake at the end. So let's say we go back to our example here where we're trying to find the last item of an array. So before when we started, this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the last item was in position 4. So let's say we console.log. Again, we hard code this. So grocery list, and then we put a 4 here. Well, this is going to give me potatoes here when really I want steak, right? So if I copy this and now I do it the correct way, so grocery list.length, okay, and then -1. So you're going to see that, again, this one's dynamic. So as the array grew, or in some cases it's going to shrink, it's still going to keep up and give me the last item. So let's go ahead and clear this and run this and see we get potatoes here and then we get steak. So steak is the correct one, potatoes is not, right? So potatoes is now not the last item. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. Let's talk about some other things. So we can also push more than one item. So let's do something like, let's say grocery list dot push, and let's put our steak back in there. And then let's also get some water. Let's get some pancake mix, and let's get some, let's say corn. Okay, so we're getting those items. So now if I console.log the grocery list, you'll see, let's pop this open and clear this and run this, we've added all those items. So we have our bread, rice, chicken, tomatoes, and potatoes from the start, and then we pushed on to the end, the steak, the water, the pancake mix, and the corn. Okay, so we understand that. Now, when we work with the push, okay, it actually performs an action, it adds things to the end, but it does actually return something, okay? So if I was to, let's say, get rid of this for a second, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, this is going to be a bit weird, but I'm going to console.log this, and you can also save this into a variable if you want, but this is a bit quicker. So I'm going to console.log the result of this. So basically, this guy is going to perform this action, and then it's going to return something, and in this case, it returns the new length, okay? Now, this isn't particularly useful, okay? You can always use the .length property, but I'm just showing you this, that it does exist. So you can pop this open and clear this and run this, and you get 9, right? Because there's 9 items, you have the 5 original ones, plus you push this 1, 2, 3, 4 more on. So that's how you get 9. All right, so additionally, we also have something called the Unshift method, which is just going to add elements to the beginning of an array. So in the same fashion of the push method, it also returns the new length, okay? So let's just see this really quickly. We're going to go grocery list, so the name of the array dot unshift, okay? And then just put what you want to put at the beginning of the array. So in this case, let's say I want to add some beans. Let's say I want to add some maybe ground turkey, okay, something like that. And basically now these 2 elements here will be in the front, okay? So let's go ahead and console.log our grocery list. So our grocery list, let's pop this open and clear this and run this, and you get your beans and ground turkey that were put before the bread, the rice, the chicken, the tomatoes, and the potatoes, okay? Now again, this will return the new length, so you can wrap this in a console.log statement if you want to see that. You could also set this equal to a variable. So I could do something like const new length like this and set this equal to this. And then I can console.log this new length guy. Okay, so you're going to see now this is going to be 7, right? Because we start with 5, we had 1, 2 items there. So we're going to have 7, and then it's going to give us the updated grocery list. So you see our 7 right there in the updated grocery list. Okay, let's get rid of all of this. And let's talk about a fresh example where we're going to be removing items from an array. So here we're going to use something called pop, okay? That's an array method pop that's going to allow us to basically cut off the last item from an array. So I'm going to start with a new array. So const, let's do some notes, okay? Some things that we want to do. So for me, it would be film JavaScript tutorials. And let's do something else. Let's go write. So write calculus to practice tests. And then let's do something like go to the grocery store, okay? And then lastly, let's do wash, well, let's do 2 more. So wash the car. And then the last one here, I'll put feed my cat, so Garfield. Okay, so let's say we want to remove the last item. So I want to basically grab this feed Garfield. We're going to use the pop for that. So I can go something like this. I can just go notes.pop. And right now it's just going to remove it, okay? So let's go over here. And I'm going to console.log first the notes up here, okay? And then I'm just going to copy that, come down here and paste that again. So basically from line 2, you're going to get the original array. And then on line 3, we're manipulating it to where we remove this item, okay? And then on line 4, basically we're going to have this changed array. So it's just going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 items now. It'll end with wash the car. So let's go ahead and clear this and run this. And you can see the original one was film JavaScript tutorials, write calculus to practice test, go to the grocery store, wash the car, feed Garfield. And this one right here, the second one, we've removed the feed Garfield. So the last one is wash the car. Okay. So when you work with the pop method, instead of it returning the new length, it actually returns the item that you pulled off. Okay. So this is extremely useful. We use this all the time. So let's say I do something like console.log and I just do notes.pop. Okay. What this is going to do is give me feed Garfield. Okay, so I can clear this and run this and I get feed Garfield. Okay, and you've called this function, so you have removed this and you've returned it. So you can normally store this in a variable and use it somewhere. We're going to do a little practice in a moment where we talk about a song playlist. Okay, we're going to use a different method for this, but basically it's returning that and taking it away. Okay, so now let's talk about the shift method. Okay, so when you shift, you're basically taking something off the beginning. So if I did something like console.log and I do notes.shift, okay, right now this is going to grab the first item from that array and it's going to pull it off. Okay, so it's going to basically remove this right here and it's going to return it. Okay, so this right here, I'm just going to get film JavaScript tutorials in the console. So let's clear this and let's run this and we get film JavaScript tutorials. Again, after you've performed this action, if you look at your notes, basically that item's going to be gone. So if we clear this and run this, you see it starts with write calculus to practice test. So it's modifying the array. All right, so let's get rid of this and let's do a little bit of practice. Let's write a little function, and basically it's going to be a simple function that's going to be a music playlist. So it's going to take in an array of songs, okay, and it's going to play the next song in the queue and then remove it from the playlist, okay? So let's go ahead and do something like const playlist, and I could probably do that like this, and I'll do something like, let's start with 10, okay, and let's do turn it up, okay, and let's go crazy, okay. And let's do hungry like the wolf, okay? And then lastly, let's do something like dark machine, okay? So let's go ahead and set up our function. So we're gonna go function, we're gonna go get song, and then it's gonna take in an array, okay? So what we're gonna do here first, because when we modify the array, eventually the array would not have any items in it, okay? So to check to see if the array has no items, you wanna use the length property. So I want to first say if the array we have here dot length, okay? And I didn't want letter spacing, so dot length. And I'm going to put triple equals to 0. So if this is true, there's no more items in the array, and it really means there's no more items in my playlist. So you can think about you're on your Netflix queue or you're on your YouTube queue or something like that, and you're watching things and you're removing things as you're watching them, okay? So eventually it gets to empty. So if this happens, I just want to return, so return a simple little string, and I'm going to say your playlist is empty, okay? And maybe you feel upset about this, so let's do a little upset emoji or annoyed, whichever one you want to think about that. Otherwise, we want to do something specific. So we know at this point with the else, we know we have a song. So I'm just going to return, we'll just do something simple. Your current song is $ curly braces. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type in array.pop, okay? So what's going to happen is this guy is going to remove the last item in the array and it's going to return it. Okay, so this would basically go backwards. If you want to remove the first item in the array, you would use shift. So I'm going to show you both ways. So let's go ahead and come down here. And I'm just going to call the function. So I'm going to go console.log, get song, okay? And then the array I'm going to pass in is going to be the playlist array, okay? So the first time this runs, again, because the length is not 0, we're going to say your current song is, it pops off the last guy. So it's going to say dark machine. So let's pop this open and clear this and run this. We get your current song is dark machine. We should probably put like a period there or something like that. And let's do a music emoji. So music, do we have that? Yeah, let's do like a piano or something. That's fine. Okay, so let's come over here and change this. Instead of pop, it makes more sense to do shift because usually you want the first item up. So if we pop this open and clear this and run this, we get your current song is 10. Okay, so that's as expected. So let's go ahead and get this. And I'm going to do 6 of them because we have 5, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And basically what's going to happen here is it's going to go 10, turn it up, go crazy, hunger like the wolf, dark machine. And on that 6th call, because the array is now empty, it's going to say your playlist is empty. So let's go ahead and pop open the terminal and clear this and run this. And you see we get your current song is 10, your current song is turn it up, your current song is go crazy, your current song is hungry like the wolf, your current song is dark machine, and now the array is empty, so it says your playlist is empty. Okay, so let's modify this just a little bit and just get some practice working with these arrays that hold other arrays. So what I'm going to do here is I'm also going to have an array here. And so the first item or the first element is the song name, and then the second element is going to be the creator. So 10 is by Pearl Jam, okay? And then let's take this turn it up here. And I believe this is by, and I didn't mean to do that. I meant to use some square brackets. So this guy is going to be by Armin Van, and he quotes here, so I don't know why this didn't work. So let's go Armin Van, and then Buren, so B-U-U-R-E-N, okay? And then this go crazy here, this is gonna be Chris Brown. So let's wrap this, and let's go Chris brown like this. And let's come down here. And let's go ahead and grab this guy. So hungry like the wolf, that's going to be Duran Duran. So let's go Duran. And then lastly, we have this dark machine. So let's grab this guy and let's come over here and let's go Paul, Oak, and Fold. Okay, if I can spell that correctly. So now what we have with our array, we have access to basically the song name and also the author or the musician behind the song, or the band you would say. So when we pop things off, we're going to be grabbing this entire thing. Okay, so we got to keep that in mind. So I still want to take in the same array. I still want to check to see if that array, if the length is 0. If it is, I want to say the playlist is empty. But now what I want to do is I want to basically store, when I shift this guy, I want to store that in a variable. So I'm going to go const, and I'm going to just say like music or something like that. Doesn't matter what you use. I'm just going to go array.shift. Okay. So this is going to now hold one of these guys. So it's going to start with this one. So it's going to hold this whole thing. Okay. So when I say your current song is, I'm going to reference this guy here, this music, which is an array. So in the first case, you have what? An array with 10 in Pearl Jam. So I want the first guy. So I want music 0. Okay. And then I'm going to say something like by, and I'm just going to put the musician here. So inside these curly braces, I'm going to put music. And again, here I want 1. Okay. So think about how this is going to work. Again, we pass in this array. So once it comes in here, if the length is 0, you're just going to get your playlist is empty. If it's not, it's going to basically take this guy right here and return it to you, and it's going to store it in this variable. So it's been removed from the playlist and it's stored in this variable now. So it's going to say your current song is, again, this is music is an array, right? So the first item would be, in this case, 10. Okay, so your song is 10 by, the second item is going to be Pearl Jam. So by music and then 1. So again, 0 for the first item, 1 for the second item. So let's go ahead and run this now. Go ahead and clear this and run this. And you can see you get your current song is 10 by Pearl Jam. Your current song is Turn It Up by Armin van Buuren, so on and so forth until you get down here where your playlist is empty.